Hi, I'm Leanpub from Leanpub, and in this episode of the Front Matter podcast, I'll be interviewing Luca Berton. Based in the UK, Luca is an Ansible Automation Expert who has been working with JP Morgan Chase & Co. and previously worked with the Red Hat Ansible engineer team. You can follow him on Twitter at Ansible Pilot and check out his website at ansiblepilot.com and his really great YouTube channel, Ansible Pilot. Luca has published lots of great books and courses. His latest book on Leanpub is Ansible Cookbook, a comprehensive guide to unleashing the power of Ansible via best practices, troubleshooting, and linting rules. In the book, Luca takes you on an insightful journey through the world of Ansible, offering a holistic approach to mastering this transformative machine automation tool. In this interview, we're going to talk about Luca's background and career, his book, and all of his great content, and Ansible, the Ansible Pilot project, and everything else that he does. So thank you very much, Luca, for being on the Leanpub Front Matter podcast.
Thank you, Lynn. It's a great pleasure actually meeting you, and I really like your platform, and I think that is a great way that IT professional can upskill nowadays. I heard recently this term that we live in, we are transitioning to a skill-based economy, and I really like this concept because I think we're more professional nowadays. We are not stuck in a fixed career path, but there are some skills that we can acquire, and maybe we can improve ourselves. And this is also one of my motto day to day.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you very much for the kind words about that. And you're sort of like, in many ways the sort of canonical kind of perfect Leanpub author. Someone making great content that can be updated, that people are using to sort of improve their careers and their lives and things like that. And it's just, and also fun, which is a point you make in your videos all the time. Like, let's have fun, which is really great. The first question I always like to ask on the podcast is about people's origin story. So I was wondering if you could talk about a little bit about where you grew up and how you found your way into a career in technology and computer science and things like that.
Sure. I grew up, an Italian, grew up in Italy in a lovely town called Padova that is 50 kilometers next to Venice. And it used to be like the University of Venice. So this year, actually, they celebrate 800 years of history about the university. I grew up in speaking Italian language, but I always was fascinated about technology. I remember when my dad was buying me the first computer in a high school. It was like a Pentium 2 with 32 megabytes of RAM. And there was a lot of fun. I like every small kids, I was a little bit of hacky. So I was like installing, having a lot of fun. And I was trying to learn from my mistakes. I think this is the thing that also propelled all my career. I had the opportunity to meet other people that were as crazy as me in the local Linux user group. It's one of the oldest of Italy because it was founded in early 90s, and because the university was very upfront and there was a lot of people involved in the IT industry. So I was also becoming one of the founder of the Linux user group when it became like an official association in the early 2000. And we had also the opportunity to invite Richard Stallman in my hometown just for create an event and hearing from his own word what is open source and how we started the GNU movement that originated everything, all the revolution that we saw nowadays. It was a completely different period of time. I remember that installing Linux was like a pile of DVD, and actually as a small Linux user group, we used to have store a lot of DVDs with all the version of Linux because internet was not a broadband like nowadays. So it was difficult, and also we were helping each other when we struggled, having problem. And then what happened? Oh yes, I moved. It was like the pivotal moment was when it was my divorce, and I decided that I want to invest everything on my career. So in 2019, I was already in contact with Red Hat, and I moved to the Czech Republic. Over there, they have one of the biggest research and development center, and I fully loved with Ansible. And I was learning by myself for my job, and I thought that a lot of things could be explained in a more like easy way to understand to people. So I was starting in July 2021. I started my YouTube channel, and I was super impressed when the first 10 view was when my first video reached out 10 or 100 views. I said, oh yeah, I was super happy at the moment. And if I'm looking back in the history, I was taking a look these days for a presentation. I reached out 500,000 views of all my video. And for me, it's a number that I can't believe in my head. I'm talking about all the lifetime of a YouTube channel. And that early success gave me the enthusiasm and the dedication to start creating more video. The first were a little bit crappy, I would say, like everybody. And after I improved a little bit my style, and then everything from the video, I was also creating a script for myself, because I'm not able to perform like a live. Now I'm doing live reviews, so hope it will be great. And from a YouTube channel, I also publish a blog. And when I reach out 100 articles, hey, maybe it will be a good idea to start publishing a book. And Leanpub was the first company that came up to my mind. So I tried, and was just, in the beginning, was just a collection of all the blog posts, because most professionals find more convenient to download in a portable device and do copy and paste of the code without accessing the internet all the time. And here we start. Another important thing was that a publisher noticed the book that I published with you, with Leanpub. It was a press, and I published the first book, Ansible for VMware, by example. And then I wanted something more spicy. So I moved the second one, Ansible for Kubernetes by example. Then I was noticing that my audience was more focused on the India, because these books are great, but they have a price point that is more for the Western countries. So I partnered with BPP, that is one of the biggest editors in India, in New Delhi, and it ended up with a book for the beginner. And the best feedback that I received was when I was in Berlin this year in September, and one of the attendees said, hey, it was like opening the book just for fun, I had a copy in the conference, and it was, hey, this is exactly the book that I would like to read to start.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. That's such a great story. I love the idea of getting into technology early, and getting into Linux early and stuff like that as well, and free open source software and things like that. And so you moved to the Czech Republic, or Czechia as it's called now, and then you moved to the UK eventually as well.
Yeah, exactly. And my life was like this, because when I was thinking, what is the best company about Linux nowadays? It was Red Hat. And what is the biggest customer of Ansible nowadays? And it was in the UK. So I'm following my passion, basically. But I remember back at the time was a lot of like a trial. I remember when I was compiling the kernel and was not successful, like the computer literally was not able to boot. Nowadays, it is like a memory from the past.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. And so just before we move on, and I'm looking forward to actually talking at the later on, a little bit later on, about like how you built your little empire, or I shouldn't say little, how you your influence empire, because getting on YouTube, having a blog, getting books, getting publishers approaching you, stuff like that. One thing I should mention for anyone listening is that a lot of people think that, if someone's on Leanpub and then a publisher approaches them and they do something else, that we feel bad about that. We love that. Like that's the best thing. That's the best thing ever. And that's just so great to hear that it worked out that way. But before we do that, let's talk about Ansible. What is it?
Oh my God. Yes. Basically, I'm a lazy boy. I would like to automate as many things that I could in my life. So I grew up as a system administrator, so learning all the incredible command to do everything by command line on Linux. But nowadays it's possible to automate a lot of this task using Ansible. That is an IT automation tool that also is transitioning to be an orchestrator. What I'm going to say is that for deploying an application, we need to do a series of tasks. Imagine a series of commands. Most system administrators are creating some script. And the problem of this type of approach is that when another colleague is joining the team, you probably don't remember how you create the script, and you need to maintain, each one has his own style. I know some system administrators are very keen to Perl, some are keen to Bash language. Ansible somehow we create one standard and is backed by Red Hat. So it is the automation of Red Hat and IBM. So I'm really proud to learn this technology from the Ansible engineering team and sharing with my community. It's an open source product for command line, so you can use for free and you can contribute. And I think is one of the best products nowadays. So basically nowadays Red Hat has a free major product, the Red Hat Enterprise Linux that everybody we know, that is the incredible platform, the OpenShift Kubernetes environment for container. And when the number of servers to manage grow up, because, well, in every organization is booming from virtual machine, we are moving to container, you need a system to maintain our fleet. And so every infrastructure need Ansible. And Ansible is because you can connect to VMware, the old world, you can connect to the cloud provider, you can connect to Kubernetes, you can connect with everything, also with Windows.
And for people who are listening who maybe aren't familiar with some of these terms, I know it goes back a ways and you mentioned some of the origins of it, but what's open source and what makes sort of like something open source different from something that's not?
Oh, yeah, sure. It's a type of software. It is a movement in software that believe that the software should be not created and maintained by only one company, but we can share the source code and we can improve, we can learn from each other. I think the best expression of this is Kubernetes. Kubernetes is a product behind Pokemon Go, behind a lot of Google successful product that is able to create a global scale application. And I think it started by Google. It was open source by Red Hat. And nowadays, I think all the biggest companies are contributing, name IBM and whatever came out into your mind, they are contributing to Kubernetes. So the best mind of the world are improving a software, and it's like a collective brain that it becomes better and better.
That's so very well said. I think one very interesting thing I think that a lot of people might sort of be curious about when it comes to open source, they might feel like it's something that's open must be less secure than something that's closed. But this is often the opposite of the case, because if something's open, everybody can see it and everybody can sort of find all the weaknesses and everybody can fix all the weaknesses as well.
Exactly. As you said, I remember that there was a lot of like security flaw in Linux. Probably one of the most famous was Heartbleed, was an SSL security that somebody was able to spot as soon as possible, and collectively they found a solution. I mean, I really believe that as a team we can grow up farther than as an individual.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. And it's again, I just sort of say it for the sort of non-technical people who might be listening. You always think like, we tend to think that if things are in the box and sort of secret, that they must be more secure. But when it comes to certain kinds of technologies, that's actually not true. And sort of, when we think of free open source software, we might be now thinking about the sort of most secure and most robust things in the world, like Linux, for example.
Yeah, but most of the people don't realize that Linux is inside the Android phone, is inside the television that we are using, inside the car, the entertainment of the car that we are using every day. So we have in our pocket more Linux that we think about.
Yeah, and so again, I always like to try to keep in mind people who might not know the term, but like Linux is an operating system. If you've got a Mac, you've got a Mac, and you've got a sort of an Apple operating system. If you've got Windows machine, you've got a Windows operating system, and there's the Linux operating system and stuff like that. And it's kind of what makes your computer go and how it all works. It's just there's these different options, and as you say, it's sort of we even if we know it, we kind of sometimes forget that like all of our devices are computers now. You're from your television to what have you, and obviously your phone and things like that. And so it's very interesting. So let's talk a little bit about your latest book on Leanpub, the Ansible Cookbook. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about who it's for. Is it for absolute beginners? Is it for experts? Is it for people who are sort of partly along the way?
Well, I've always tried to mix and match the need of beginner and also seasoned expert, because the idea is just create a problem and solution book, like a sort of like a recipe book where you can find the code for solving the problem that people experience every day. Yes, I'm so proud to start this Ansible Cookbook because it's a format that is in the industry. I mean, in the book industry for a while, and I think that all the big technology has a cookbook, and I found fascinating that Ansible didn't. I mean, I really like learning something by example, not only learning all the manual. It is kind of like boring. We learn the theory, yes, but practically, how am I going to create a user? How am I going to change a password? How am I going to create a directory? Well, these are the type of problem that usually Ansible is able to solve, and is able to solve in a scale. So if you have 1, 10, 100, 1 million server, you can do in the same exact way. And this is the best part of this tool. It's like solving the problem one time, and the sky's the limit. Now you can, for big organization, that is a big saving, especially in a high regulated market or some, I'm thinking about financial service, about flight, about, the biggest institution worldwide.
It's really interesting. Yeah, no, I like how the books are sort of follow the same model that your videos do, which is like here's a problem, a real thing. You're gonna at the end of this, you're gonna actually know a solution, and I'm gonna have stepped you through it, which is just a really great approach. And as you say, I like the sort of the sort of something cookbook is a great kind of analogy for like recipes and things like that. Learning how to make something step by step. And one thing I wanted to ask you about, so you've got I believe it's a blog called AI Liberator.
Yes, this is a new idea that I'm working on the side. The artificial intelligence is a trend in the industry.
Yeah,
it's not something new because I was approaching all the machine learning, the basic, a few years ago. I remember that I was studying some courses on Coursera, and there was a very interesting material at the time. But nowadays we saw an explosion because I think that OpenAI and ChatGPT really open the artificial intelligence to the broad audience. And well, I simply think that we can't put the genie in a box. And it's going to have a big impact in the industry. My feeling is that we are still in the early stage of the technology, because in the last just think about the last year because it's very interesting. ChatGPT was released more or less 1 year ago, and before nobody knew this tool, and now everybody is talking about. And in just 1 year, there was so much. There was a big explosion. I think I was following the recent news about also the CEO of OpenAI. I'm talking about Sam Altman, that he created a business of $90 billion from scratch. So I'm really fascinated. I think this is a trend that is going to be like a game changer for the industry. It's like when the ARM processor was released, when the mobile phone was released, in the beginning there will be is a controversial technology, then we will find a way for every technology is like a tool. I understand that some people have some concern, but we will find a way of getting the best. Also, I was reading something that we were able to find to learn about how the proteins are connecting together using using artificial intelligence. And also recently, Google was able to make a weather forecast model using artificial intelligence that is actually better than the previous one that we use in the industry. So it's very fascinating because we don't know how, but this thing is actually able to get a better result than the traditional way of doing things.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. You're reminding me of an example from that I heard about. I think it was either, the terms get moved around a little bit. AI, what does that really mean? Machine learning, like that's more defined. But I remember Google particularly was an example from Google. I think years ago they had a data center where they just set an algorithm on its sort of cooling mechanisms and management. And it just improved the kind of like efficiency of the system, like by 15% or something like that. But no one really, if I recall the story correctly, at least at the time, no one understood why. But this machine could just iterate and sort of figure out over time what, a better way to manage this sort of physical system. But of course, there's all kinds of, automated systems and things like that AI is kind of perfect for.
Exactly. I'm super fascinated by this world. And like every professional is a continuous learning.
One thing that comes up on the podcast from time to time, and I guess it's kind of particularly relevant in this moment, is I believe you studied computer science at university. If you were starting out now in 2023 with the intention of having a career as a system administrator or in IT or in as a programmer, would you go to university and study for a degree? Because you're one of the people who makes all this great content, but you're not part of a university. What would you do now if you were starting out?
Well, thank you. It's a great question. Yes, I have a degree in computer science, and somehow what I'm gonna it's controversial because yes, I'm not using what I was studying is already deprecated, I would say, because I was studying Java, I was studying some technology that nowadays we are using a little bit less. However, I would say that the mindset that the struggle, the type of program, the abstraction about the type of program. I'm thinking about NP program, the problem like complex, the complexity of a program. So the mindset, the approach of how to approach a problem and to write an algorithm, these are the things that I'm using every day in my career. So a lot of people nowadays say, I know that especially in US is a big topic because the student debt is a lot of influence, so it's a different culture. But for me in Europe,
right.
university is a different approach, and definitely I would say that it created a solid background for my early stage in the career, especially when you are a junior. You don't have a lot of credibility when to write in your first CV. You need to start from zero, and at least finishing a degree, you show to the world that you started a project, like a long-term project, and you finish, and you came out of the background with the knowledge that there are some computer terms. I'm thinking about the leap, about the how to optimize a graph. There are some common way of solving an algorithm that I think that the school is still a big foundation. Nowadays, maybe there are different way of attending the school. This is something that we can discuss, because I saw a lot of university that open some online courses that maybe sometimes they are a little bit cheaper, and you can learn from actually one of the best university. Well, so this is something that people can evaluate, but it depends by personal circumstances.
Yeah, that's a really great answer. I often get people get very passionate about this question, and it's they've had different kinds of experiences at university, if they went at all, and my view is always, if you have the opportunity to spend 4 years in your youth in study, it will dramatically improve the one life you have to live. Very much. It's not just the sort of specific things you take. As you say, it's like undertaking a long-term challenge when you're young. Often a university what makes it different from other types of education is that it's very self-directed. Like, you choose your courses, you will go to them or you don't. It's up to you, and the outcome is up to you as well. And it's as hard as you make it, basically. Which is one of the things about a sort of like, university education, is that like you can do the minimum and get the grades you need to pass, or you can make it the biggest challenge you've ever faced. Up to you.
Yeah, I would say that I wasn't one of the top students, so I was mediocre at the time. But one thing that every young professional should evaluate is create some personal project, being passionate. Yeah, because the degree will be not enough sometime. So find a way of applying this knowledge in a way. I had the opportunity, I think, with Coursera to do a nano degree, and there was about this single page application, how to use to develop it was everything created with JavaScript that interacted with an API, and was a great approach. Was a great program, because by the end we were starting from a static web page, and we'll add automation on the way to create this wonderful single page application. And everything was published in a GitHub repository. So when I applied for a job, I was able to showcase actually my project, and that was a fantastic way of sharing. But I know that there are a lot of different programs, especially in the UK. There is an apprentice program. Is very big in my company, and it's always fascinating talking with young people. Especially with Gen Z, that they have a different approach. I'm always surprised that they are able to use this new IDE faster than me, because they learn in the university and they know everything. But sometimes they're a little bit scary when they approach like the terminal. The black command line where you can type the command and actually interact with it.
Speaking of sort of young people who are starting out and trying new projects and things like that, I just wanted to, in the last part of the interview, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, the sort of content creation that you've done and how you approach it. So you've got blog, you've got videos, you've got books, you've got courses that you've created. Do you have like a schedule for yourself? Like, for example, are you like every Saturday from like 2 to 4 p.m. I work on something? And do you have like a calendar where you're like, I'm going to be working on a book in this weekend or in a course on that weekend? Or is it more random?
Well, I would like to say yes. However, it's not like that. I saw a lot of people have this, and they are very, very organized, I would say. It's more when I'm catching the idea when it comes. Usually when the swimming pool, I had an idea and say, okay, yes, I'm going to talk about this topic and I'm going to record a video. What I'm doing is try to schedule at least one video in the YouTube channel per week because everybody is busy. So the idea could be like an error that I saw doing my job that I reproduce in a different way, but still keeping the same behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And that is done. When I recorded the video, my objective is one per week. Sometimes there are more things that I need to share with my audience, so I'm doing a little bit more. There was a period of time that I was trying to do one every day, but I ended up with a burnout, to be honest. I don't know how people are able to create more than this because, well, I have still my 9 to 5 and full-time busy, so I'm not able to keeping up. But on the book side, I think that it's more easy for me to write a blog because I can type whenever I want. And because recording a video is actually a lot of stress, usually I'm recording like free time and then I need to do the post-production. So to record just 10 minutes of output, behind there is like 1 hour of work, more or less, because I need to prepare the script, prepare the code, testing the code, see some solve the error of the code, and then record the video. The first time I forget to turn on the mic. Then record second, or I'm not satisfied by the results, and then I'm gonna publish this kind of stuff. And I would say on the blog is more fast. Usually I can do on the move, or it's fun because sometimes I get the idea when I'm in the bus or when I'm like outside of my computer. Also, I'm writing a book when I'm commuting for trips or something. I was on a train for a business trip and I was typing on my laptop. All the people around me was looking TikTok or listening to some music. So this is how I optimize my time. And usually, I don't know, it makes me feel more alive, this kind of stuff. It makes me, and well, I'm super happy to have this opportunity to self-publish by myself with a Leanpub because I have a feeling, at least this is my feedback, that a lot of IT professionals are looking in this platform as a reference in this sector, as well also a lot of like traditional publishers are looking for talent in this way. Yeah, for me, a self-published book and a published book are two different products. So it's something that I'm rewriting from scratch, from totally different audience. I mean, I try to approach also in different way. Every time I'm trying to use like a accessible language. I'm trying to be more inclusive. I'm trying to use more we than you. I'm trying not to use like master, slave, but primary and secondary. There is a lot of things that we need to take care. But well, as I said before, I'm lazy, so I'm trying to take advantage of the technology. So I have Grammarly as a spell checker. I'm using the Markdown format for my blog content, so it will be easy to translate some content for the self-published book. So there are a little bit. I did a lot of optimization on my workflow. This is how I'm able to save time actually. So when I publish, my website is static generated. So for me, publishing an article is just typing a command on a command line. So I just need to type a command, and then a lot of automation, the task start triggering. As you said, I have more than 500 articles that are solving this and like everyday problem. But what I'm fascinated is that every day I'm finding new problem to solve, and I don't have enough time to share this stuff. But
Yeah, that's a really great answer. I mean, you sort of like put so many things together there, including this sort of telling the journey, right? Starting from, this is that I think you started at the beginning of the interview, like my first videos weren't very good. And you get better over time. You learn how to do the post-production, and you learn how to get better at your setup and things like that. You learn how to structure them and things like that. But for anyone listening who's interested in sort of, getting to where Luca is someday in their own sort of content creation world, it's just a matter of doing it and doing it again and doing it again and doing it again. And to keeping in your mind about how to get better, but also, like you said, keeping in mind burnout, right? There might be people who can make 20 videos a day, and that's exactly what they want. And there might be people who are like, one a week is actually like what I want to do. And I want to focus more on blog posts and other things like that. The last question I always like to ask on the interview, if the guest has been Leanpub author, is if there was one magical feature we could build for you, or if there is one thing that's always had you shaking your fist going, damn you Leanpub, and shouting at the screen, that we could fix for you, is there anything that you can think of that you would ask us to do?
this is very technical because, I like the platform. It really make my workflow very easy, as I said before. And I saw that you added a lot of new feature, new tool. I'm really excited to try everything. However, as you probably understood, I'm a person that came from the technology, so all the best part of designing a book, or from a text to a page, there is a journey, because there is a lot of tools behind the scene also to choose the right font, the right format, the right place for the image. I'm thinking about LaTeX, that is one of the tools that is able to do all this calculation behind the scene. I would like to find one of my wishes, be able to have more flexibility on the shoes of this mix. I would like to find in Leanpub a different option to see the output of my creation. There will be like having 3 different preview on my book, and then I could choose which one is better. Because nowadays I think that you try to find one size fits all. That is wonderful. However, some content may be presented in a different way.
Yeah, thank you very much for that feedback. That's very, very good to hear. This is always the kind of like the sort of one of our old Leanpub kind of jokes / principles is, if you're still writing, formatting is procrastination. And because I definitely am like that. Like I will start, instead of writing, I'll start playing around with the formatting and stuff like that. But of course, it's a balance, right? Because you want things, you care about how things look. You want them to look the best way they can for the audience that you're writing for the thing that you're writing about. And so the way we usually try and solve that balance is use one of our writing modes as you're going. And then when you're done, that's the time when it's, let's perfect the formatting and stuff like that. And so we have InDesign output and stuff like that. Sometimes people go off and they use LaTeX after they've been using Leanpub for a while. But that's always the sort of balance that we're trying to sort of strike. But we've had that very specific. I don't think we've ever had a request for 3 at once. But definitely the idea of being able to see a preview of what you're writing live, instead of having to hit the preview button and then wait for it to generate the PDF, say, and then go change a bunch of settings and hit the preview button again and wait for it to come out again is definitely something that we've heard about a lot before. And I'll definitely like pass that along to the team that, yet another vote from a great Leanpub author for something like that. Well, Luca, thank you very much for taking some time out of your evening to talk to me and to talk to us. And thank you very much for being a Leanpub author and for using our platform to produce such great content.
I'm so thankful for hosting me. It was a pleasure. And well, the sky is the limit now. I hope we can meet again, maybe in a conference or live for a beer.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Thank you so much. And let's automate more. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.